In our 45-minute breakdown, we dissected every single shot in the behind-the-scenes trailer. However, we left some room for a separate video focused on speculating everything about the two main character concept shots.
We will be relating a lot of these concept pieces to characters revealed in Tevinter Nights, as we believe many characters were introduced into the book as a setup for Dragon Age 4. With that said, put on your tinfoil hats and join us as we speculate through the main characters shown.
We'll begin with the left characters. Making our way to the right, the first character is seemingly a human female with red hair, in a pretty purplish dress. She looks to have long red hair and has some similarities to the Crow woman in the later shots. While we're dealing with concept art, she most certainly could be this Crow. If so, she could be a new Talon in the ranks that joins us as Antiva faces the Qunari invasion. If she's not a Crow, then who or what could she be? She's wearing a very elegant dress that looks quite noble, very much princess vibes. Perhaps she's a part of a rich merchant family or an infamous house in the northern nations. Fans have speculated that she could be Francesca from the recent comics. However, the comic writers have already dismissed that claim because they would have known she was a companion, and so they doubt it is her.
Next up, we have a most intriguing female Qunari who most certainly is a rogue, considering she has two daggers. She looks very striking with her platinum blonde hair and long horns, and she's dressed in Qunari armor. Last year, the devs had a meeting in which the idea of a Qunari woman named Harley Kuhn came up, so as a fandom, we've given her that nickname for now. Many fans speculate that Harley Kuhn could be Tamasrin Rasan, who recently appeared in Tevinter Nights, and previously before that, Dragon Age Those Who Speak. While I do see where they're coming from, I think it's fair to say that Harley Kuhn isn't Rasan. There are many notable differences. Rasan has white hair with smaller horns, wearing Tamasran robes. However, appearances can change. We are dealing with concept art after all. I think the biggest indicator that Harley Kuhn isn't Rasan is sheer continuity. Rasan is a Tamasran of the Kuhn, who's leading the Antam invasion in Tevinter, looking for a way to defeat Fen Harel, while under jurisdiction of the Kuhn. While you could say she is running a rogue operation, I don't think she'd willingly betray the Kuhn and join our new protagonist. No, Rasan feels like she's going to be a worthwhile side antagonist regarding the whole Qunari plot that may shake up the entire narrative. So while she's not Rasan, Harley Kuhn is certainly wearing Qunari armor. Perhaps she is a member of the Kuhn, like the Ben Hasrith, similar to Iron Bull, or maybe she's Talvashoff and just likes to wear Qunari armor. Regardless, the fandom has wanted a female Qunari forever, and it seems we will have one this time around in the next Dragon Age.
Next up, we can see a human male. They look bald, wearing fully kitted armor. It looks almost like a scarf covering his neck, or it could be a turtleneck designed coat to ensure he's completely protected. His armor features many pouches and a shoulder strap that holds his weapon on his back. The weapon itself could be a crossbow, a short sword, dagger, honestly anything giving it small shape. However, we get crossbow vibes off him, especially with the pouches. Maybe that's where he carries all his different bolts and poisons. His left arm is bare, while his right arm is fully armored. Perhaps he needs his left arm for shooting quickly, and therefore has it exposed for the lack of speed. Initially, we thought he was somewhat of a warrior class, but I think he's actually more of a rogue, given his appearance and ranger-like nature. Our interpretation of him is fairly open, and he could represent many of Vadis' factions, like the Lords of Fortune, or he could just be an honest rogue from one of the northern nations, like the Anderfels or Rivain.
Following that, we have a tall, robed figure who could be a human or an elf, seemingly either gender. There's not much distinction in their face, and they're the most silhouetted character. Perhaps they could be the next main protagonist, but I'm really not confident in saying that. They're wearing a very elegant chest piece with a cape, their gauntlets look to have a winged design, and everything in this outfit is pointy, which somewhat resembles a Tevinter style. When we look at their legs, something is going on with that right leg, which would be the character's left leg. It looks very peculiar, like it's bending into a snake. Perhaps it is just the shadowing of the image. If this character is not the new protagonist, perhaps this character could be Neve from Tevinter Nights. She's a private investigator working out of Minrathis who has a dwarven prosthetic leg. Honestly, she ticks all the boxes for this figure with their Tevin style. I do have a hard time saying that any of these concepts could be the next main protagonist, so I think we'll say this could be Neve, at least for now.
While the majority of the figures are ominous, there's something even more mysterious about this one. They look like a female with one hand on their hip and the other holding their large weapon. The weapon itself, like what the fade is that? Is it a gun, a crossbow, a bat, a staff, a wooden stick? Like what is that? And when can we use it in combat? Perhaps this figure could actually resemble a fog dancer from Saharan. A fog dancer is a bard class who knows the technique of creating fog onto their enemies and killing them in one swipe in the fog. According to the Rook book that Mark Dara always teases, these characters show up in that book, two of them resembling a fog warrior and a fog dancer. The color range seems to be the same as this character. They wear a cape around them with something like a shawl or a mask around their face. They could parallel a fog dancer in this group of characters. If not that, then literally anything. She could be an epic old woman joining our fight who finds pleasure in killing people with her bat. I'd like to see that.
The next character looks like a robed Antivan crow. We see a lot of Antivan crows throughout the concept art shots. This fellow could be the same stubbled brown-haired crow who appeared in two other shots. The robed figure here has a sword, whereas in the other shots, the crow has two daggers. Perhaps they're two different characters or just conceptual artwork of the same character. With that being said, we think either of these crows could represent Lucanus Della Morte, master assassin of the Antivan crows and heir to the first Talon. Not much of a description was given to Lucanus, other than his jet leather greatcoat and black on black suit, which fits both concepts shown.
This character looks like a hornless Kosseth, which is a Talthvashoth Qunari who no longer follows the Kuhn's way of life. Or, most likely, we believe they could be the elf called Strife from Tevinter Nights. Strife is a tall elf with silvery hair and a strong build. Strife grew up in Starkhaven's alienage. His outspokenness got him in trouble frequently, and he eventually had to leave the city after hitting a guard who was beating elven children. He was then living in the woods when the Dalish found him and let him join their clan. By the time of the fall of Ventus, Strife was at least 50 years old. He has no Valisleen, and at the end of 3 Trees to Midnight, Strife and his prisoner partner Mirian fled back with the Dalish after being captured by the Antem. There is another Qunari shown in a heist shot. While they may not be the same person, people believe this Qunari has some resemblance to Sten. But Sten is Arishok now, according to the last issue of Silent Grove. Normally, we see Sten in braided hair at the scalp and beard in his most recent designs. Not to mention, he now wears Arishok armor, so it's not him, unfortunately.
The final character in this shot, we have an undead skeleton who most likely is bound with a spirit. They were seen in the underwater shot previously. Our undead friend most likely comes from Navara's Grand Necropolis, as they bind spirits to the undead. With them being undead, they could be a previous character that has died in Dragon Age, or it could be Audric from Tevinter Nights. Guardsman Audrey Philhosson died of his wounds after Lord Khan's funeral. He is a rare undead who held to his mortal soul, caught between two spirits, anger and curiosity. Confronting the pride demon who possessed Lord Khan's corpse would help remedy Audric's anger, and eventually it did. Audric is now confronted with a choice: to rest in peace in his death or work under the auspices of a Watcher. He would be bounded to the Watcher Myrna and given a position to be in charge of the Navaran library. Audrey Philhosson is a spirit of curiosity who is intrigued by architecture, history, and art. He loves collecting books and reading them as a hobby. He never wanted to be a scholar for the Chantry, but looked up to them as they were the ones writing the books. While Audrey sounds like a great soul to meet, as far as we know, this undead could be anyone or any spirit we have not yet seen. We do know that the undead are bound to Night Watchers in the Navaran city, so this character could be anyone from Navara, like a noble from the past ages, or just somebody completely new, maybe even a Mortalitasi necromancer.
In the following shot, we have two more characters to explore. The first is this elf warrior wielding a huge two-handed weapon. He's wearing a white Tevinter-style coat with a lighter tunic covering his torso. The belt below expands to a bottom cape. He has short brownish hair, so could this elf be Gat from Inquisition and Tevinter Nights, an agent of the Ben Hasrath? Probably not, but we'd like to see Gat make a bigger cameo in the future, and if not Gat, maybe this elf is a Tevinter Soparati, considering his Tevin outfit.
And finally, we have a female human wearing what looks like Antivan crow armor. However, we don't think she is a crow at all. A lot of the concept pieces follow heists and high-risk missions. Perhaps this character has disguised themselves as a crow so they can pursue their discreet objective. This explains why Dorian may be seen in another concept art shot wearing Antivan crow armor with a sword, because he's dressed as one for a heist. Not because he's going to use the sword or the armor, but simply to disguise himself. This blonde lady could be the altar's thief known as Vadis, given the stealthy nature of her disguise. After the events of Tevinter Nights, Vadis was interlocked between the cult of Fenharel, the Ben Hasrath, and agents of the Inquisition, as of which she decided to hunt the Dread Wolf, making her a perfect companion in the next Dragon Age game.
Honestly, any of these characters could actually be Holics from Tevinter Nights. They're an assumed name of a Ravani Lord of Fortune who is a master of disguises. They can pass as any other gender or race when needed with makeup, accents, and plenty of outfits.
In any regard, plenty of Tevinter Nights' characters will most certainly make their way into Dragon Age 4. As a reminder, these shots are all concept art, and our thoughts are but speculation, so even though we've already got plenty to say on each character, we can't get too attached just yet, but it's always fun to speculate.
Of course, I would love to see how these characters will turn out when we see another shot of the games. I love how most of these characters are very distinct from each other and already have a different story just from their outfits and appearances. So let us know your thoughts down below on each of these significant characters, and who do you think will be returning from Tevinter Nights?
We've got plenty more to say on this behind the scenes trailer, so make sure you subscribe to the both of us. But until the next one, we should go.